Hello and welcome to another video. In this one, I'll be covering a topic that hasn't been talked about a lot. It is in relation to the Ukraine war, as this is the Polish secret mobilization as well as buildup of the army. The reason I say secret is because it's barely being talked about. It's mostly being talked about in Polish media. But other than that, there's no international big media companies that I've seen talk about this. So I first sourced the government of Poland. They have passed this act early on in February 2022, 2 days before the war, the 22nd of February 2022. And it is called the Homeland Defense Act. And this act is an increase of size of the military from their current about 150,000 to 300,000, of which 250,000 will be active soldiers, while 50,000 will be territorial defense units, which will be separated in the different regions of Poland and be specific to that region so that they can learn it properly, map it out, and all of these things. And then there's the active army. On top of that, they want to build a reserve, a proper reserve system. And by proper reserve system, I mean that they want to get the proper names of all the people who needs to be in the reserve, as well as giving them regular training. We'll be getting more into that later. But first off, there are these main objectives from the official government of Poland website. I'll show it here. We can see that there are a few main objectives of this act. The first one is the organization of regulations on the armed forces. So I'm assuming this is modernizing the rules and regulations as well as the bureaucracy of the force. Increase in defense budget. This is to buy all the necessary equipment to properly equip all of their forces. I'm not really sure about this part specifically. It could be something in relation to NATO or a similar alliance within the countries bordering Russia. Increase in the size of the Polish army, as I mentioned, from 150,000 to 300,000. Simplification of the military service system, getting rid of bureaucracy. Restoration of the reserve system, this is what I was talking about. They need to properly have enough units to call up in case of war. Enhanced training of soldiers, so better training for the soldiers so that they are able to properly adapt to the situations as well as to what they have learned from the Ukraine war as a spectator. Enhanced increase in the interest in military service and military studies, so probably some sort of information campaign on the media, advertisement, and all of these things to improve the interest of the young people in the military service and general population in military studies. Establishment of a system of incentives for candidates for service, so probably increasing the wages and all of these things. That makes it more appealing to join the army. Increase in the flexibility of promotion rules, so this is to make it sure for them to improve the rate at which the people who are actually competent get promoted rather than the people who are related to or have the proper connections. So essentially what we're seeing here is that the Poles introduced this act where they are essentially increasing and modernizing their army. And to this we have this article, which was posted a few days ago, a little over a month ago, where the Poles have decided to call up to introduce, where the Poles have introduced a law where they're able to call up to 200,000 Poles throughout 2023. They claim that they will not call up a lot of people, however, most likely they will. And the reason I say this is because they need, first of all, to prepare enough soldiers to reach the 300,000 mark, but also because they need to create their reservist training services. So the more they train, the more they're able to learn about how to improve the reservist training services, and the better a reservist training services do they have, and also the more they have trained for the reservist force. And it is said that these could be called up to without having to register, and also if they have useful skills And also, if they do not accept the invitation and attend, then it is punishable by jail or fine. During that period, reservists receive an army salary, which would in many cases be a private pay of 117 zloty per day, which is about 25 euros. So essentially, we're seeing Poland start a improving their reservist system, as well as increasing their army size and in spending more money on their army, improving the structure of the army, removing bureaucracy in the army, as well as modernizing their army. So how are they modernizing the army? One of the things they're going on a Korean-made multi-launch rocket systems and tanks and artillery buying spree, where they are set to buy 1,000 K2 tanks, which is similar to the T-90, 672 K9 self-propelled howitzers, and 48 FA-50 light combat aircraft, along with some multi-launch rocket systems announced today. And those are actually large in number, as it is exactly 288 K239 Janmu K MLRS, which is their modernized multi-launch rocket system. So they are buying 288 multi-launch rocket systems, as well as 1,000 K2 tanks, 672 self-propelled howitzers, and 48 light combat aircraft. And on top of that, we also see they're also in talks with the United States to buy more Abrams tanks. They've already bought some, and now they want to buy a second batch. The second batch that they're talking about is the buying of 116 M1A1 Abrams tanks with the related equipment and logistics starting this year, which is 2023, and another 250 upgraded M1A2 Abrams that they already bought last year, and they will be delivered by 2025 or 2026. We're seeing the Polish army buying over 1,000 tanks, somewhere around 1,400 tanks, as well as artillery and multi-launch rocket systems. With this, we can see that they are significantly increasing the combat prowess of their army. They know that the NATO as a whole has enough aircraft to beat any of their enemies. However, the land combat prowess of NATO isn't on par with Russia, so they are improving their own prowess to pull up their weight and become a significant part of NATO. So essentially, what we can conclude from this is that Poland has started a mobilization of both troops and forces, where they're planning on training another 150,000 troops to have a standing army of 300,000 troops, on top of creating a reservist force of 200,000 troops, which would put the total at 500,000 troops. So 500,000 troops is essentially what Russia has prepared now in the war in Ukraine. That means that they would have a standing army comparable to that of Russia. However, Russia has claimed that they're building up an army of 1.5 million. Anyways, that's going to be all for this video. Thank you all for watching and have a great day.